Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the May 12th, 2022 meeting of the Memphis and Shelby County Land Use Control Board. My name is Mary W. Sharp, and I will be serving as your chairperson today. We will begin this morning's meeting with a roll call. Mr. Ragsdale, would you proceed, please?
I'll just do it from here. I think I should speak a little louder. Then we'll work on that. Mr. Fleming? Here. Mr. Gill? Here. Mr. McKenna? Here. Ms. O'Connell? Here. Dr. Pritchard? Here. Bowles? Here. Ms. Wilbanks?
Here.
Vice Chair Rob Wallace?
Here.
Here. Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. I would like to remind you that copies of today's agenda are located at the front right podium if you need them. If you wish to be a speaker on any case that is on today's agenda, please fill out the attendant speaker's card located at the front podiums. Once you have filled out the card, please bring it up front and hand it to one of our DPO staff members located in the front podium. When the agenda item is called, you will be given an opportunity to speak. At this point, I would like to read our conflict of interest statement. The adopted policy of the Land Use Control Board requires that any member of the board recuse himself or herself from any participation in the discussion or voting on any matter on the meeting's agenda in which he or she may have direct or indirect personal interest. The member shall vacate his or her seat during deliberation on any matter from which they have recused themselves. An abstention may substitute for a recusal for the purposes of maintaining a quorum. I would now like to get approval of our minutes from the last meeting. May I please have a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. It has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion carries. Okay, we're ready for our director's remarks if we have any.
We do not have a director's report
Do not?
this month or a
Okay.
secretary's report.
Okay, thank you.
So I can explain the procedures for the meeting.
Okay,
At the beginning of today's meeting, we will establish a consent agenda for those items where no one in the audience or on the board is requesting an individual public hearing. After the consent agenda is established and approved, we will move on to the regular agenda. For those cases on the regular agenda, the DPD planner will give a presentation. This will be followed by the applicant's presentation and any testimony from others who support the application. The applicant and supporters will be given a total of 10 minutes. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Next, the opposition will be given a total of 10 minutes to present their case. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Finally, the applicant will have a 3-minute rebuttal period under the same rules. Following all the presentations and after all parties have been heard, the chair will ask if the board members have any additional questions of anyone who spoke. Then the chair will close the public hearing portion of the case, entertain a motion on the matter, discuss, and then vote on the application. If an applicant or any speaker would like to be heard after the conclusion of the public hearing portion of the case, or if a board member wishes to hear any additional testimony from any party for additional clarification, a motion will need to be made along with a second, and then a 2/3 affirmative vote of the board is required to reopen the public hearing portion on the agenda item. If the public hearing is reopened, both the applicant and the opposition will be allowed an equal amount of time to provide additional testimony. After the additional comments, the board will close the public hearing portion of the case and deliberate and take the final vote. Again, if any member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in any support or opposition to a case, he or she will need to fill out a speaker's card. These are available at the front podium. Speaker's cards are not required if the applicants since their names are already part of the record.
okay, thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. The board is a supporter of community involvement, and we welcome neighborhood comments and feedback. We are respectful of the fact that many of you have taken off work or adjusted your schedules to be here today, but we ask that your comments please be made within the time frame allowed. If there are multiple speakers, please try not to be repetitive so as to make the most of your side's 10-minute time allotment. For example, if you think it will bring down the appraisals of the neighborhood 10 people don't need to say that. Just have one person say that if you got 10 people speaking. Lastly, I'd like to ask you all to silence your cell phones so as not to interrupt or disturb anyone during today's proceedings. We'll now move to the consent agenda. With our procedures now explained, I would like to introduce to my right Ms. Lisa Wilbanks, who will be this morning's consent agenda chairperson. Ms. Wilbanks will read items 1 through 26 as the consent agenda. Once the consent agenda is read, if you wish to discuss one of those items individually, please come forward and give us the item number, and we will pull that case. We will then vote on the remaining consent agenda items as one vote, and following the vote, we will hear the cases that were pulled individually. Ms. Wilbanks, will you please proceed?
Yes, ma'am. Item number 1, case S22-04 in Whitehaven. The request is a 42-lot, single-family residential subdivision at the parcel partially enclosed by Mickey, Patty Ann, and Timothy Drive. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 2, case S22-05 in Fraser. The request is a 10-lot residential subdivision at 2717 Mountain Terrace. Staff recommendation is rejection. Is hold for 1 month. Item number 3, case PD 22-04 in East Memphis. The request is a hotel at the parcel between 6580 and 6584 Poplar Avenue. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 5, case SUP 21-40 at Lake Village. The request is a convenience store with gas pumps at 5551 Hacks Cross Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 7, case MJR 22-016 in Raleigh, Egypt. The request is to install a 35-kilowatt natural gas generator on a 4-by-10-foot concrete pad as a backup power source for the existing cell tower at 4386 New Allen Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 8, case MJR 22-017 in Hillshire. The request is for a site plan approval for warehouses within the Murray Farms Business Park PD. Staff recommendation is approval with one condition. Item number 9, case MJR 22-020 in Shelby County. The request is for site plan approval for the development of a 141-unit, 47-building townhome development. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 10, case MJR 22-022 in Millington. The request to modify the conditioned setbacks for a new accessory crematory building for the existing pet cemetery, crematory, and funeral home. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 11, case MJR 22-023 in Oak Haven. The request is for a site plan review for 2 warehouses in the Rains Road planned urban development. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 12, case MJR 22-024 at Windike. The request is to allow a vehicle wash establishment and site plan approval in the Winchester/Hacks Cross Road PD at 3620 Centennial Drive. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 13, case MJR 22-025 in Raleigh. The request is to increase the number of lots at 3585 Austin P. Highway. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 14 has been withdrawn. Item number 15, case MJR 22-028 in Cordova. The request is to expand multifamily uses into an area previously approved for office use in the existing Colonial Country Club PD. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 16, case S22-013 near Waynoka. The request is a 4-lot subdivision. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 17, case S22-014 in Uptown. The request is a major 2-lot residential subdivision at 601 Looney Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions and waivers. Item number 18, case S22-015 in Whitehaven. The request is a major 2-lot residential subdivision at 3699 Graves Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 19, case S22-016 in Whitehaven. The request is a major 2-lot commercial re-subdivision at 4430 Elvis Presley. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 20, case SAC 22-02 in downtown Memphis. The request is to close and vacate the public right-of-way of an east-west public alley located at North 4th Street and Court Avenue and terminates 89 plus or minus square feet east of North 4th Street. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 21, case PD 22-09 in Midtown. The request is a new residential plan development to convert an existing adult independent living use to multifamily apartments. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 22, case PD 22-010 in Eads. The request is an amendment to the Christie Stonescape PD to allow an expansion of Christie Cutstone. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 23, case PD 22-015 in Lakeland adjacent. The request is an amendment to the Houston and Levee Trails Plan Development to allow flex storage space in Area B3. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 24, case SUP 22-013 in Cordova. The request is a new hotel. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 25, case Z 22-03 at Wolf Chase. The request is to rezone 3 parcels from R8 to CMU2. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. That is our consent agenda.
Thank you. The items on the consent agenda will now be voted on with 1 vote, subject to the recommendation of DPD. If the consent agenda is approved, only items number 4, 6, and 26 will have full independent public hearings. By voting on the consent agenda, each board member is affirming that he or she has read the staff report and agrees that it's with its findings and, where applicable, its recommended conditions. Can I get a motion, please?
Move to approve item number 1, case S22-04. That was item number 1. Item number 2, case S22-05 is a hold. Item number 3, case PD 22-04 is a hold. Item number 5, case SUP 21-40 is a hold. Item number 7, case MJR 22-016 is a hold. Item number 8, case MJR 22-017. Item number 9, case MJR 22-020.
We are going to pull number 9. We just got a card on that one.
Okay. Item number 10, case MJR 22-022 in Millington. Item number 11, case MJR 22-023. Item number 12, case MJR 22-024. Item number 13, case MJR 22-025 is a hold. Item number 15, case MJR 22-028. Item number 16, case S22-013. Item number 17, case S22-0-14. Item number 8, case S22-015 as a hold. Item number 9, case S22-016 as a hold. Item number 20, case SAC 22-02. Item number 21, case PD 22-09. Item number 20.
Ms. Willetts, we'll pull 21 as well. We just got cards on that one.
Okay, 21. Item number 22, case PD 22-010. Item number 23, case PD 22-015. Item number 24, case SUP 22-013. And item number 25, case Z 22-03 as a hold.
Thank you, Ms. Wilbanks.
Wait.
Do I hear a second?
Wait, no.
Madam Chair, let me check these.
Hold on just a minute. I got some more cards.
These are actually in support, so it's on consent, so we do not need to pull that. So.
Only 3?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I do have a second.
Go ahead. You're fine.
Okay. I do have a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we will now go to Dr. Pritchard for the regular agenda.
Agenda item number 4.
Madam Chair, would you show me recused from item number 4?
Mr. Brown Gill is recused.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 4.
PD 22-07 Hickory Hill, amendment to the Ross Creek Plan Development to allow a car wash establishment at 6685 Shelby Drive. Staff recommendation is rejection.
Okay, is the applicant present? If so, would you come up and give us your name and address? We just need your name and address, and we'll have staff present the case.
Pat Wolf with ETI Corporation, 1755 Linfield, Suite 100, Memphis 38119.
Okay, thank you. We'll now have the staff give us a report.
Good morning, everyone. Teresa Shelton, Municipal Planner for Division of Planning and Development. Right before you, you have PD 2207, Century Express Car Wash. Representative Matt Wolf, 6685 East Shelby Drive, amendment to the Ross Creek Plan Development to allow car wash establishment. Okay, here is a zoning map showing the different zones. You have CMU2 on a few blocks down. There's also residential in between the CA and that CMU2. Of course, across the street, there is a CMU1 and RU3. Most of this is surrounded by residential more than commercial. Here is a land use map showing you more of the residential, less commercial. Here's a view of the subject property looking from East Shelby Drive, looking north. And as you can see in the picture, I know it's kind of glared, but there are residential housing behind that property. Here's a view of the subject property looking northwest, and you can also still see the houses back there. Now here's a view of the property from Ross Road. Back here, you can't really see it. I'll show it to you on this other picture. There's an alleyway, which you can see in the next picture here. And there's a clear shot of the houses located on Ross Road where that site would go. Here's a site plan showing the proposed car wash. Here's a conceptual landscape plan for that car wash. This is just a plot plan showing acreage, I guess, for this, and a concept plan that's here. This is the proposed car wash. This is the car wash tunnel building elevations. Your north elevations are here, south, east, and west. This is trash enclosure elevations showing here. Here's the proposed signs and logo for that location. Okay, with the Memphis 3.0, here's my review from comprehensive planning. With them, they said it was a lower intensity commercial and services there. Based on it, that is not consistent. One of the concerns that was noted is that there was not enough buffer. Right here it says there is not enough of a buffer between the proposed use and the existing neighborhood. Additionally, the proposed use will disrupt the current character of the neighborhood. So this is more information that was provided to me by comp planning. In conclusion, the applicant is requesting an amendment to the Ross Creek Plan PD to allow car wash establishment. The site plan is in conformance with outline plan conditions other than the vehicle wash, which was not included as permitted use in parcel A. In the previous approved case, PD 94304CC, because of the Unified Development Code requires a special use permit, this type of use in the commercial mixed use 1 zoning district was not allowed. So the proposed development, I feel, will injure and damage the use, the value and enjoyment of the surrounding properties, nor unduly or prevent development of surrounding properties in accordance with the current development policy. So my recommendation was rejection, but if it is approved by this board, the final plan shall be re-recorded with amendments and use condition, but I also will require an increase in the buffer between the car wash and the existing residential neighborhood it abuts off of Ross Road. And that concludes my presentation. I'm here for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions of Ms. Shelton before we go to the applicant? Okay, applicant, we're ready for you to present your case.
Thank you for the opportunity to present our request to amend the plan development to allow for vehicle washes in the Ross Creek plan development. Before I get into the merits of the project and our request, I want to introduce our developer proposing the project in Memphis. Century Express Car Wash comprises local Memphis area business people who have made a significant investment in the Memphis area in the past few years. They have a combined 170 years of management and operations experience in this area. These folks have a distinct goal of investing in their communities and neighborhoods with new commercial service growth. We respectfully request the Land Use Control Board consider our arguments regarding the use of the property, conformance with the Memphis 3.0, and impact on the surrounding neighborhood. As far as the use of the property, many things have changed since the PD was initially approved, including the UDC and the city's policies on where car washes may be located. This site, in particular, checks all the boxes as it relates to where car washes need to be based on your current code. Therefore, it is only appropriate that the PD, approved nearly 30 years ago, is updated to reflect the evolution of the appropriate uses for the property. In fact, since PD was approved, the property has been surrounded by auto-centric uses such as the gas mart, former AutoZone, and commercial uses such as a vacant Walgreens, all of which were deemed appropriate and compatible with the adjacent and nearby neighborhood. We request that this commercial use, which is consistent with the current UDC codes in the placement of car washes, also be considered an appropriate use for the property. As far as the comprehensive plan conformance, the property has been vacant for over 20 years with multiple different development projects proposed and ultimately denied. The plan is in conformance with Memphis 3.0 plan, by which, and I quote, the development and significant market activity are encouraged in Accelerate Acres. Sections will be developed as part of the comprehensive plan for infill and redesign. We believe the project does provide a reasonable and acceptable buffering distance as guided by Memphis 3.0. There's a 75-foot buffer between the main building and the south property line, currently containing a 6-foot wood fence. Based on conversations with the neighborhood members, revised landscaping plans have been proposed with additional evergreen trees to create additional visual buffer. As far as the impact on the neighborhood, we respect how important it is to have this project, or any commercial project on this property, be designed with the adjacent and surrounding community members in mind. We held one informal meeting and a formal neighborhood meeting, with a formal meeting after over 600 mailing notices were sent. The participants of the meeting was in support of the development. The car wash establishment will have on-site staff and management to assist customers and ensure the grounds are neat and free of any garbage, including up to the fence separating the lot from the residential properties to the south. A garbage enclosure is located on the site, south side, with access to the existing access road. After discussions with members of the neighborhood, efforts to ensure the garbage pickup date and time will not be disrupted to the adjacent property owners. In closing, we are requesting support and approval for this plan development amendment and are fully supportive of additional conditions suggested by staff, including the landscaping within the 75-foot buffer. With that, I'll give my remaining time for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Do we have any questions of him at this time? Hearing none, we have another person in support of Mr. Gill. Would you like to say something?
Yes, I'm Ray Gill, 8130 Macon Station, Memphis. I bought this land 36 years ago. It was a farm, a Ross farm. Back then, things were remarkably different. It was a booming area, lots was happening, and these restrictions were in response to that. In the intervening 36 years, and I'm 70 years old, so I've had this half my life. We've developed the 47 lots and we sold them, and we have 3 acres commercial. We've been here many times for other uses and been denied. The Walgreens across the street closed 8 years ago. The Backyard Burger closed and moved out down the street. The Wendy's closed and moved out. If there ever was an area that needs a shot in the arm, this property, this area does. Now this use, we don't sell beer, we don't sell cigarettes, we don't sell gasoline. If there ever was a compatible use and ever was an area that needs new development, it's the corner of Shelby and Ross. There's a stoplight here, 108-foot right-of-way, 7 lanes. The traffic dictates this use, and it is not an offensive use. Let me point out that many of our attempts to build ourselves, we were rebuffed because we couldn't get the rents. We did a plan for a shopping center, but we couldn't get the rents to justify the cost. So I've tried to do everything I could in the intervening 36 years to develop this and put it on the tax rolls. And I think you have an excellent opportunity to put it on the tax rolls, to give a shot in the arm to this neighborhood, and provide a use that serves the neighborhood that's not offensive. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you have any questions of Mr. Gill at this time? Yes, sir. Mr. Fleming?
Do have a couple questions. Matt mentioned hours of operation and then another tree buffer. Can you talk to us about those two items, please?
Well, I would defer to the applicant on those two items.
You want to speak on the hours of operation, Leroy?
Sure, be happy to.
Can you give us your name and address, please?
Leroy Ratliff,
And address?
527 Halley Park Drive,
Okay, go ahead.
Collierville. The buffering, currently we're 75 feet from the south property line with the back of our main tunnel. We tried purposely to bring everything towards the street in consideration for minimizing noise and things that might take place in a car wash that could be offensive to our neighborhood. The vacuums are in front of the building, closer to the street as well. The openings into the tunnel are east and west, so obviously the east is facing Ross Road, and then the east opening is facing a beauty supply store that recently opened, I believe. We've also, in our conversations with the neighborhood, we heard loud and clear that they were concerned about noise, and so we wanted to do everything we could. We went back and amended our landscape plan, which is not reflected, but we added a row of trees along the back south property line, evergreen trees that would be green year-round, wouldn't drop a bunch of leaves and create problems for neighbors to pick up leaves out of their backyard and so forth. We certainly wanted to do everything we could to be a good neighbor in this community. We recently were approved for a project at Winchester and Riverdale in the old Kmart facility there. We invited neighbors down to come down and view our property, walk through it with us. We had a couple that took us up on that offer. We're very, very proud of the facility that we do. We're not your average car wash. We're a higher end, and we take very seriously being a part of the community.
Hours of operation, I believe you mentioned.
The hours of operation are 7:30 a.m. to 8 p.m., Monday through Sunday.
Any further questions of the applicant?
Mayor Sharp, Ms. Sharp, can I say something?
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know if you were confused on it. I don't want you to widen it. I just need it to be just a little bit more along that alleyway that's behind the establishment. If you could buffer that more.
The strip on the south side,
Right.
that's where we added the trees.
Cool. Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure we were clear on the same thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant and/or staff? Okay, hearing none, is there any opposition? Do we have any opposition here? Okay, since we don't have any, I'm going to close the public portion of this case.
Move approval of agenda item number 4, PD 22-07.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no? Okay, motion carries.
Agenda item number 6, SUP 22-05, Binghamton. Apartment complex at 3100 Walnut Grove Road and an adjacent parcel. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions.
Okay, is the applicant here? If so, come up and give us your name and address.
Good morning, Derwin Sisnet, Maslow Development, Inc., 1779 Kirby Parkway, Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay, thank you. Is there any opposition here right now? Okay, go ahead okay, we'll hear you in a minute. Go ahead, staff, I'm sorry.
All right, good morning, Brett Davis, Division of Planning and Development. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm going to present case SUP 22-5. This is a special use permit request to allow apartments in an office general zoning district. The development includes more than just apartments. The other uses are permitted by right, but the entire development is subject to our review. The location is 3100 Walnut Grove and an adjacent parcel. The owner and applicant is Lighthouse Community Ecosystem, LLC, represented today by Mr. Jim Atkinson of A2H Inc., and the site is just under 15 acres. I'm going to just give a brief presentation, some maps and photographs. This is where we're looking in Binghamton, a very centrally located neighborhood within the loop. Here is a vicinity map showing all property owners within 500 feet of the site that received notice of last month's public hearing. So we see that the site itself is zoned OG. There's multifamily RU3 zoning to the west, RU1 duplex zoning to the northwest, more duplex zoning to the east. To the south, across Walnut Grove, is the Central Library. On the other side of that, the planned bus rapid transit corridor we discussed last time. Here is a satellite photo that just gives us a better look at the two parcels. The southern parcel once contained an office complex. We still see vestiges of that development, and the northern parcel is wooded. We do see that this street, Wills Street, ends in a stub that the UDC would like to see extended. Over here we have the Commodore condominium apartment building and some photographs. So here's the site seen from Walnut Grove, seen from Hayden. Although the site is quite large, it has very limited frontage on public streets. Here's a view of Cypress Creek from Walnut Grove, which is about halfway inside the site. A view west down Walnut Grove at the site's frontage. This is the Commodore in the background, several homeowners of which have submitted letters of opposition. And here's a view north down Hayden. Finally, a view of that Wills stub. Here is the conceptual site plan. Most of the colors match all the zoning colors we normally use, but I want you to forget everything you know about zoning colors. This red here is not commercial. It should be blue. It's a school. And that's really the centerpiece of the proposal. It would be a K-8 charter school to the best of my knowledge. And here are the apartment complexes. They're apartment buildings. There are 6 buildings proposed, each at 3 stories for a total of 200 dwelling units. We also have some rental townhomes proposed, rental meaning they would not be on individual lots, and some offices along closer to Walnut Grove. So here's that Hayden frontage, here's that Walnut Grove frontage. There are some issues that staff has with the site plan, just based in code. One, again, would be a potential extension of the street network into the site to make sure it's incorporated into the public realm as much as possible. Second issue is the both local and state requirement for a stream buffer along the eastern side of the site. In conclusion, I'm going to go down to the fourth point. The site plan will be subject to a more intensive administrative review if approved. The applicant has indicated they wish to work further with staff on some of these issues I just mentioned, as well as the neighborhood on issues of design following a potential council approval. And we have put a condition in that if the plan deviates significantly, and the condition defines significantly from the conceptual site plan I just showed you, that those modifications would have to return to the Land Use Control Board for site plan review. And we do find that the request meets the special use permit criteria, and the Department of Comprehensive Planning commented that it was consistent with the Memphis 3.0 comprehensive plan, and we are recommending approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions of Mr. Davis? Any questions? Okay, we will hear the applicant now. Please make your presentation 10 minutes.
Thank you so much. Good morning again. My name is Derwin Sisnet. I'm with Maslow Development, Inc. We are a nonprofit real estate development company that co-designs and develops mixed-use communities anchored by high-quality schools. And so while we're here for a specific purpose today, I wanted to just share the overall vision for Lighthouse. Lighthouse is a mixed-use community that aims to essentially, literally and figuratively bridge the divide that exists in the socioeconomic demographics of Memphis. We've done community engagement over the last few years, and through some extensive research and community engagement across Memphis, we ultimately landed on Binghampton as a home, mainly because of Memphis 3.0, as well as the Binghampton Neighborhood TIF report that came out just a few years ago that really had the community demand what we are ultimately wanting to build. Again, the vision is a K-5 elementary school, health and wellness assets, workforce assets, and quality affordable housing, all of which is not only wanted by the community, but also needed by the Binghampton neighborhood. And of course, we haven't done any of this alone. So over the last few years, we've worked with our architects, A2H, and they're here today to spend some more time with the matter at hand. So thank you so much. Jim?
Hey, support, please give us your name and address.
My name is Jim Atkinson with A2H Inc., representing the applicant, 3009 Davies Plantation Road, Lakeland, Tennessee. I do want to say, first of all, we do agree with the staff recommendation and the conditions. We understand the site plan will come back later. We'll be putting more effort into it, more engagement with the staff and the neighbors. We've had several sessions already with neighbors, which I think have been very beneficial. We've talked to Mr. Davis several times and knowing what we need to move forward there. We also know, as listed in your staff report, there's a lot of further review to be done through the engineering department as far as access and traffic, drainage, and those matters will have to be analyzed in more detail. I want to highlight one significant point here that Mr. Davis mentioned, and that's about the uses on the site. So we have several different things happening here. We have the multifamily that we're here to discuss. We also have townhomes. We have office buildings. The multifamily is the one that kind of sticks out. The other ones are all permitted by right. So those are there. We're not under discussion, although we are looking at the entire site. Those other uses are permitted by right. There are residential products, though, that are permitted by right in this district, in the general office district. The townhomes are permitted, and even residential and upper stories. If we could have an apartment complex with other uses on the lower floor and have apartments up. So we're really looking for a slight deviation in the form of the type of residential that we're offering here. So we're not deviating too much. We're not asking for a rezoning. So I want to make that point very clear. There's a very slight deviation from what is permitted by right. Other than that, the site plan, again, as I mentioned before, we'll be doing more detailed work on the site plan, providing more details, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, we want to hear from the two other supporters. Mr. Lomo and there should be two supporters in the House that want to speak on this case. Travis, I can't read the last name, Davis,
I believe,
and Caesar Lomo.
Yes, we got two cards that had support for this case. Is anyone here?
They were here. I'm not sure if they stepped out, so I don't see them.
Okay, well, I guess we'll move on to...
Okay, we'll go to the opposition. Mary Beth Burnett.
Yes, Mary Beth Burnett, 3080 Walnut Grove Road. Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
Ma'am. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. As I said, I'm Mary Beth Burnett, president of the Commodore Homeowners Association. We are not apartments, we're condos. We're located next door to the proposed development. I represent our condo building of 40 units and some of our neighbors in the area. Many of our owners are here today. We've taken time off to share our concerns and the reasons for our opposition to the special use permit for the proposed 200 multifamily apartments on the property at Walnut Grove. Our main concerns.
Can you speak a little louder, please? We can't
Yes.
hear you.
Our primary concerns are, number one, population density and infrastructure. The plan for the 200 apartments is located only blocks away from the Tillman redevelopment complex, which consists of 219 multifamily apartments, plus commercial and community garden. The impact of these two similar developments so closely located will be a burden on the police, the fire, the traffic, and the utility infrastructure in this area. As you add more concrete, it decreases the green space and the ability to absorb rainwater. The runoff is depleted, which may cause flooding. As you saw on the site plan, the development is located near Cypress Creek. The property is low on the side of the drainage in this area. When you look at the topography map, Tillman is higher and Walnut Grove goes down. And then it raises up again at home. So you're in a bowl on this property. The conditions regarding the drainage outlined in Brett's presentation should be reviewed prior to the approval of the special permit. You need to determine whether this land can support the dense population. The previous one-story office buildings were located on approximately 5 acres of the land, currently zoned for general office, and the remaining approximate 10 acres is green space. Our concern is about the current infrastructure, the utilities, sewer, storm drains, fire hydrants that's currently zoned general office, being able to support the additional apartments that are going to use more water, drainage, electrical, and more environmental. In addition, the future development of the proposed charter school will include a maximum of 450 students and faculty, as well as several retail buildings, which will add a tremendous amount of additional construction for the infrastructure to support the development. This will be a detriment to our property, which is located directly next door to the proposed development. Number two, traffic, congestion, noise, and environmental pollution. The proposed development is surrounded by streets on 3 sides. You've got Walnut Grove on the south, you've got Hayden on the west, you've got Winoka on the north, and our property is right next door. The current traffic pattern is heavy most days on Walnut Grove. Poplar and Walnut Grove are the main streets that flow east and west. Then you've got Tillman as the north and south gateway to Poplar, Sam Cooper, and Broad. Hayden is a cut-through street, and it's currently got a lot of traffic on it. It's difficult to exit our driveway now, and there are blind spots to view Walnut Grove to the east. We're located near East High School, a commercial retail mall, and a public library, which increases the number of vehicles on the street. There's pedestrian foot traffic and bicycle traffic from the Green Line to Tillman, Hayden, and Walnut Grove. This is a busy area day and night. In addition to the vehicles and the pedestrian traffic that will result from the proposed apartment complex, the potential traffic from Tillman Cove will overwhelm the neighborhood and impact the safety of our streets. It is unknown what the underlying impact of the entire development will have on the wider community. The traffic control provisions that Brett outlined in the conditions should be completed prior to the approval of the special permit. Number 3, green space. As mentioned previously, there is approximately 10 acres of green space. With the proposed development, the current tree canopy that exists on the property will be destroyed with the construction of the 6 3-story apartment buildings and townhomes. Additionally, the K-5 charter school has plans to include 8 buildings for the school and 5 for retail and health and wellness center. The site plan shows approximately 480 parking places. The green space that will be left will be minimal and most of the mature trees leveled. The landscaping we saw in the proposed drawings were for small, low-grade trees and shrubs to be planted. The current trees, plants, and wildlife will be greatly impacted with the destruction of the tree canopy. In summary, the entire planned development will have at least 28 buildings, 480 parking spaces, and approximately 1,000 people living, working, and attending school on this site. After all the meetings and our additional research, we do not believe that this area can support the increase in population density and the burdensome impact on the infrastructure, police, fire, traffic, green space in the community. Without the population density of the apartments, the proposed school would have less of an impact on the area. The change to the zoning for the construction for the apartments on this property will have a negative impact on our neighborhood. There are approximately the same number of multifamily apartments already in progress on Tillman. This is too many people for the area. Our mid-century modern building has existed adjacent to the property since 1964. The Commodore condominiums consist of a diverse group of owners with ages ranging from the 30s to the 80s. Some of us have lived here for many years, and others have recently purchased condos within the last year and even the last month. We feel that the addition of the apartments will negatively affect our property. And for the reasons we have stated, Madam Chair, you mentioned in your opening comments that this board takes into consideration the concerns of the citizens as you make your decisions. It is our concern that the board would approve the special use permit before knowing if any of the conditions outlined by Brett could be met. This is a big deal and a big project. As homeowners, we are far more invested in our neighborhood than developers and renters will ever be. We are deeply upset about the increased noise, the pollution, loss of privacy, natural beauty, and property value that this development would likely cause. Why should developers reap profits when it's the hardworking homeowners who shoulder the burdens and suffer the consequences? This is no small matter to the people who have worked and saved to buy homes and are living in this neighborhood. We are owners of our condos, and we've worked hard. We will be living next to a major construction project for the time that it would take to complete. Our property values most likely will decrease, and we will be living in a neighborhood with so much congestion and from the 200 apartments in a school and retail space, and also the additional Tillman Cove development. This will be like 419 apartments in a small radius. In other words, if you approve this special use permit, the developers win, they get their money, there's more low-income housing available. But what about us and our concerns? As we see it, we lose. Our property values will likely decline and our neighborhood greatly changes. We know you understand our situation and hope that you will consider our concerns in your decision. We respectfully ask that you vote no to the special use permit to allow 200 multifamily apartments for 3100 Walnut Grove Road. Thank you. I'd like to reserve the rest of my time if I have any.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Burnett. Do we have any questions of the opposition at this time? Okay, no questions. Hearing none, we're back to the two supporters of the applicant. Are they here yet? The two supporters. Do you think you got about 4 more minutes? Or how many do they have? 3.5. 3.5 minutes.
I don't believe the supporters are here, so I guess it's the applicant.
Okay. Any more questions of anybody? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public portion of this meeting. Do we have a question here?
Do we have rebuttal?
Do you need a rebuttal?
Pardon?
Rebuttal.
I'm sorry. Thank you. All right. We need a rebuttal period, from the applicant before we close the public portion. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Atkinson again, representing the applicant. We appreciate the comments from Mayor Beth. She's been fantastic to work with, as we have had. We had one neighborhood meeting, which was very well attended, and I know the applicants have followed up with additional meetings and have one scheduled for next week in addition. A lot of the comments, the simple answer is we agree, and we're working through those. The development process requires us to go kind of big picture first, get the approval, then dive into the details. So we agree this is a big deal, and this will be a big impact. As far as the traffic, the construction, the infrastructure, all that has to be worked through. We've done a lot of preliminary talking. We've already been talking to the city of Memphis about sewer, sort of on our own to get kind of a head start on that, but those details will have to be worked out. I do want to kind of go back to one of the main points I made earlier as far as the uses go. This is definitely designated as a high-intensity site. Memphis 3.0 calls for this to be high-intensity commercial and services. The uses that are permitted include the school, the office uses, the townhomes, and residential on upper stories. So that does anticipate a complex of uses here in a high-intensity environment. So we're not deviating from that. We expect this to be a high-intensity place. It is kind of odd that this large piece of property, relatively large, sits vacant, kind of right in the middle of a dense area, right across the street from the public library and other uses in the area. So I think the intent is to develop that. And again, we understand the infrastructure is a big concern that will be worked through as we continue through this process. But we do ask to support this special use permit at this time and allow us to continue through the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions?
I do. Mr. Atkinson, I one question. What are your plans for the amphitheater? I just kind of curious what your thoughts are on that one.
So we have on the initial site the amphitheater, but we've been engaging the community, as I've shared, for the last several years, and most specifically for the last few months. That's right now TBD. Right now, we have 50% of the community saying they would like an amphitheater, another 50% saying they wouldn't. What's really core to this project, the school, the health and wellness assets, the workforce assets, and multifamily, the amphitheater is something that we could pull back if need be.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Maybe this is for Mr. Davis. So just so I understand, if this were to be approved, the applicant would go through engineering and there'd be a traffic study performed. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so I've had a number of calls on this case regarding traffic, especially the commercial to the west. I'm sure y'all talked to those folks too. So you would work with them on mitigating any traffic issues with the commercial entities to the west?
Absolutely. And I believe that's the carpet store, I think. They have their loading docks right off of Haiti. So yes, we would have to make sure that we're not creating a larger issue there.
Okay.
But yes, that will be worked out for sure.
Yeah, that's my major concern is the traffic implications. And at any rate, I'll save my other comments for later. Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the public portion of the meeting, and I'm ready for a motion.
Agenda item number 6, SUP 22-05, Binghamton.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. We're ready for the next item.
The next item is agenda item number 9, MJR 22-020, Shelby County, site plan approval for the development of a 141-unit, 47-building townhouse development. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant present? Would you give us your name and address, please?
Cindy Reeves, SR Consulting, 5909 Shelby Oaks Drive, Suite 200.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Thomas.
Good morning, everybody. Seth Thomas with the Memphis Shelby County Office of Planning and Development. The case before us is MJR 2220, part of PD 07342CO. So the location's at the northeast corner of Shelby Drive and Forest Hill Irene. And this is site plan approval for the development of 141-unit, 47-building townhome development on 14.25 acres. Here's the location. Here's an aerial of the site. Here's some site photos. Again, you know, the lot is currently vacant, so not really much to see here. And then this was the original site plan that came before the Land Use Control Board in October, where I believe it was denied and then appealed to the Shelby County Commission, where it was approved. That approval happened November 15th of 2021. This is the new site plan, so really the old site plan was a mixture of townhomes and single family, and now the developer has come forward with a site plan that's similar, except the homes that were along Forest Hill Irene and Shelby Drive have been replaced with townhome buildings. Here are some elevations of the proposed townhomes and the elevations with the proposed front yard landscaping. And here are the floor plans. This is similar to 2 other MJRs that have gone through the Land Use Control Board. Both were approved, but were appealed by the opposition to Shelby County Commission, and they will be heard later on in May. So in conclusion, the applicant's requesting a site plan approval for a 141-unit gated residential subdivision with 2 private access points off Irene Woods Lane. The residential development will consist of 47 townhome buildings with 3 units in each structure. Staff feels that the proposed development will not unduly injure, damage the use, value, enjoyment of the surrounding properties, nor hinder or prevent the development of the surrounding property in accordance with the current development policies and plans of the city and the county. And staff is recommending approval with revisions to the outline plan conditions. These site condition revisions were the same that were approved by the Shelby County Commission back in November. For a modified landscape plate, a different landscape plate along the northern property line, and then a minimum of 1 tree per frontage on streets and alleys. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions, board members, of Mr. Thomas? Are there any questions? Okay, applicant, we're ready to hear your case.
This is the same case that we've heard for numerous months now, and I'm going to defer to the opposition.
Okay. We are ready for the opposition. Give us your name and your address.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Brenda Salamito Baser, Salamito Land Planning, 1779 Kirby Parkway, Memphis. Thank you very much. I am representing the Irene Neighborhood Association. And if you remember, we had a large number of neighbors down for the first time that an application was heard on this property. And the residents are weary. They have been in this process on several phases, including appeals and court cases. This case right now, the first case you heard, is in Chancery Court. Mr. Lou Wardlaw, the attorney on the case, couldn't be here today, but he has asked me to say for the record that we are opposed to the case being heard today because it is in Chancery Court. But more to the merits of the case, Seth, if you'll go to the next one. The reason for the opposition of this is both because ultimately you're going to have 72 acres of all the same housing type. You're going to have 416 townhomes that are all rental units without an opportunity for home ownership. It will produce traffic, it will produce noise, it will do all the things that most of the opposition says, but this particular property, all inclusive, will also cause an overburdening of the Shelby County school system for the 3 schools in this area. And if you can see, there is a letter from the very first time that there were concerns. Now we're going to be adding 416 units, all rental, without opportunity for home ownership in this area. So that's the basis for the Irene Neighborhood Association's opposition. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. You have any questions? Do you have any questions? Okay, applicant, I think you have 13 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Is there anybody from the Irene Neighborhood Association here? Okay. I would like the Land Use Control Board to defer to the letter from the County Attorney, Robert Rowland, and I would hope that we would make our decision according to this. I can give you my presentation again. As you can see, everything in green is apartments, and now everything in brown, including the site with the star, is now going to be townhouses. So instead of having 3-story walk-up apartments, these will all be townhouses, which is a very good product for the neighborhood, we feel, and it's something that's not available. The next slide. This was our previous plan that we had filed and got approved. We feel that now that we've come back with a better product, next slide. Now we have 1 lot and we have 141 units. Next slide. This is the property to the east, which is identical to this. And this is the property to the north. These are our elevations. So I don't want to take up a lot of your time on this, but I hope that you would consider this application and approve it. And I'm here for any questions. And I also have my clients here.
Any questions?
Yeah. So JC over here. What's going on? Why you guys, I mean, the first plan was pretty dense. What's the change and why the change?
Well, this plan, the phase 1 plan, had cottages and townhomes. And we feel that now that we've gotten into the project, that the townhomes make the appearance of a larger home. It appears, instead of having a 1,500-foot cottage, then you have a 3,500-foot triplex. So we feel that it gives a better look, it gives a better feel, And we feel that the product will be better for rental. And
I guess, is it more cost efficient? I guess that's kind of what it is. That's what it kind of boils down to. Just
it is more cost efficient.
Okay.
That wasn't the main reason, but we like this product better now that we've gotten into the project.
Cindy, do the homes along Shelby Drive and Forest Hill face Shelby Drive and Forest Hill, or face internally?
No, they do not. They're reverse frontage lots, and that's the reason that we had to get these in order for these to face Shelby Drive and Forest Hill, is so that it gives the appearance, and we have the alley loads, which is a more expensive development cost, but we don't have rear yards and a fence along Shelby Drive and Forest Hill. You have this look instead. So we felt that that was a better look. It is more expensive to do it this way, but we feel that it does make a better product than having rear yards along Forest Hill and Shelby Drive. So
that elevation there, that rendering there, would be the rendering if you were looking at from Shelby Drive or Forest Hill?
And Forest Hill, yes.
Okay.
So you'll have wrought iron fences, and then you'll have the front of the homes. They're rear load. All these are rear loads, so it's not that whenever you get into the development, you're not going to see all garages and no homes. And we feel that it's a very attractive development.
Thank you,
It is
Cindy.
more costly, but we feel that it's worth it. Thank you.
Anybody else? No questions? Okay, we have one? We're going to close the public portion of the meeting. Can I get a motion?
Move approval of agenda item number 9, MJR 22-020.
Second.
Okay, we have a second, we have a motion. Is there any discussion? Okay.
I think I agree it's a very attractive project that they've designed, but again, the issue with the schools for me is the reason that I've been consistently voting against these, because if the schools are at or just about at capacity now, and we keep approving additional units without any consideration to the impact that it's going to have on the schools, I think that's a real problem. So I can't support it.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other discussion?
I guess my question is just, while we're kind of on that, and not to come at you or anything, but just who actually solves that problem? Is that a problem that we could actually solve by denying the project or approving it? I mean,
That's part of what we're tasked with.
Any further discussion? Okay. Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Those opposed?
Okay.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 21, PD 22-09, Midtown, new residential plan development to convert an existing adult independent use to multifamily apartments. Staff recommends approval with conditions.
Thank you. Okay, is the applicant present? Is the applicant present? If so, would you give us your name and address, and we will then hear from the staff?
My name is Mike Davis. I'm at Reeves Farm, 6800 Poplar Avenue, Memphis.
Okay, thank you. Is there any opposition to this one? Okay, we're ready for your for your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Aisha Penzes with the Division of Planning and Development. This application is a new residential plan development to convert an existing independent living use to multifamily apartments located at 1914 Poplar. The structure is also known as Parkview, built in 1920s. It's a historic building in Evergreen Historic District. Subject property is located towards the southwest corner of Overton Park. It's on the northeast corner of Poplar and Buena Vista Place. The zoning of the site is split between 3 different zoning districts: residential single family to the north, residential urban 3 to the south, west, and commercial mixed use 3 to the south, west, east of the property. Additionally, this site is under Midtown and Evergreen Historic District overlays. Land use within the vicinity is mainly single-family and multifamily residential, but there are also commercial uses in close proximity. These street view images show the existing 10-story structure and the parking lot to the west of the said structure. The site has 3 street frontages: Buena Vista to the west, Poplar Avenue to the south, and Kenilworth to the east. Site plan shows the existing multi-story building to have 126 units. The parking lot to be reconfigured to have 123 parking spaces with additional bike parking spaces, a new pool at the northwest corner of the site, and new landscaping in the parking lot and around the vicinity of the site. Landscape plan shows detailed landscaping along Poplar Avenue and Buena Vista Place and around the proposed pool area, as well as in the parking lot islands. In summary, the applicant is seeking approval for new plan development, converting an existing independent living use to multifamily apartments. Proposed multifamily use is permitted by right per commercial mixed-use 3 zoning. The applicant is proposing to renovate the existing multi-story structure and a surface parking to maximize the efficient use of the property. The proposal is found consistent with the Memphis 3.0 comprehensive plan, and any exterior alterations, including but not limited to driveway, fences, walls, and building alterations, will be further subject to review and approval from Memphis Landmarks Commission. Staff believes that the proposed development will not unduly injure or damage the use or value of surrounding properties or prevent future development. In conclusion, we recommend approval of this plan development with outline plan conditions as listed in pages 19 through 22 of the staff report. And this concludes my presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of staff at this time? Okay, we'll hear the applicant.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Again, Mike Davis for the Reeves firm. This is all about bringing an iconic, beautiful building, Memphis building, back to life. It was built in 1923 as an apartment hotel building, and it operated that way until 1964 when it was purchased by the Presbyterians, and they converted it to a senior living facility. Since then, it's been operated by numerous owners and management companies with that use, and they've all essentially failed because the occupancy rate has never exceeded about 55%. It was purchased by the applicant 2 or 3 years ago, and they pumped a bunch of money into the interior of the site and attempted to operate it as a senior living facility, and still could not get the occupancy rates up. So what we're doing here is trying to convert it to market apartments, primarily one-bedroom units. There are some 2-bedroom units. They're going to do very minor cosmetic improvements to the exterior of the building. They're going to clean it up. They're going to get rid of the awful window AC units that you see when you drive up and down Poplar Avenue. They're going to do away with the existing parking lot, clean up the service area, build a brand new parking lot with extensive landscaping, and we believe it's going to be a vibrant project when it's all said and done. We have met with the Evergreen District 4 times. We met with the adjacent neighbors on Buena Vista, and then we had our standard formal neighborhood meeting. And there's been a lot of back and forth, and we've taken their suggestions into account. And again, we believe we've reached a good compromise on how the property should be developed, and we would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the applicant's side? Okay, hearing none, we're ready to hear from the opposition. Freeman, Gillian, and Bakeman. Please give us your name and address when you reach the podium.
Good morning. My name is Shauna Bateman. I live at 237 Buena Vista Place. I will make my comments brief. My deep concern with this development is related to parking. I appreciate some of the accommodations and the improvements that will happen with this building. However, in the notice I received in the mail, I noted that there are 25 parking spaces missing from what is required for the size of the development that this is. I live about 4 houses down from the edge of this. And what I anticipate is that those missing 25 spaces and how parking is currently allocated in this development, that parking will come in front of my house. On this block, which is pretty short, we have over 20 school-age children. So I'm concerned about I am deeply concerned about the use, value, and enjoyment of my property and the loss of that with how parking is going to take place in this building, and if it does become the vibrant community that I know we hope it will. Pardon me. Okay. So I'm concerned about noise, traffic, and the loss of residential character of our street. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person in opposition, and then we'll have questions of all 3 of you if we need.
Hello, my name is Juanita Freeman, and my address is 201 Buena Vista Place, Memphis, Tennessee, 38112. I've lived at Buena Vista for about 10 years this year, actually, and I'm excited about the opportunity to redevelop in the area, but I do have some concerns. As Shauna Beckman just said, there's a lot of school-age kids on that street. This neighborhood, I have always proclaimed, is a neighborhood within the neighborhood Memphis, okay? It's what neighborhoods used to exist, where everyone played and ran through the streets. You don't see that in Memphis anywhere. But I'm telling you, we have it. Kids are running up and down the street. We're cautious, like even when there's zoo traffic, we're watchful and the parents are watching, making sure cars are not speeding down the street. But let me get back on task, okay? Because I love my neighborhood and I love it. But what was noted earlier is that the developers are putting money into the community and fixing up the building. But it's simple things, like there's been graffiti on the corner for about a month. Nothing's been painted. There's lighting from the building that's protruding in the neighborhood. It's blinding on my front porch at night. We have said things 2 times during the meeting. Nothing has been done. So what my concern is, once and if this is approved, they're just a free flow to do whatever they want to do, and they're not really listening to the community. Another thing, I heard earlier in a case earlier with the buffer between the neighborhood and commercial property. I don't think this buffer is being pushed back to about 15 feet from the street. Mature trees that once kind of blocked and kind of gave us a buffer that felt like a neighborhood, not a commercial area, is going to disappear. Also, if we look at let me make sure, the north side of that, there's a pedestrian walk. I think that hasn't really been looked at. That means you're encouraging people to park along Buena Vista other than solving parking issues at hand. I feel like the pool is more of a concern than adding additional parking spaces. Again, lighting. I didn't move. I moved back to Memphis. I used to live in Chicago. I don't want to be like in a big city where there's lights and traffic and everything. But yeah, I know we have to share the community, and I think that's very important. One other thing. I'm sorry. This is new to me, but one other thing is this right here. Possibly, if this is proposed and approved, could it be like a parking permit similar to Monroe that's near Madison and Cooper, where residents actually have parking permits to park on the street? Because right now, with the extra 25 spaces, they're not planned for. Basically, where am I to park on my street? I won't have parking in front of my house. And lastly, we talked about traffic and speeding concerns. If this project is approved, there needs to be bumpers down the street to avoid speeding down the street and harming kids in the future. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're ready for Mr. Gilliam.
Hi, Frank Gillum. I'm in a 231 Buena Vista, so I'm next door to the Batemans and the Freemans. First of all, I also like the idea of the Park View being renovated, refreshed, that it would look much better than what it looks now. That is a great thing. And I won't have a lot to add because I think they've all addressed it, except to say that, we see the 14 spaces written into the plan, and then the shortage of 25. So I think the concern there is that we're going to have almost 40 more people parking on the street. And then also, I don't know if you can show the other slide of the view of Buena Vista, but when you're looking at that buffer zone, it actually slopes down to the street. So what is the nature of like the wall that's going to be built? Is it like will it also slope downward? Is it a, transparent wall, a solid wall? How would that work? And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions of the opposition at this time? Okay, hearing none, we're ready for...
I do.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What do you guys propose to be done as far as parking if the building has already been laid out and been that way for the long haul? Is there...
Well, I'm not going to tell you parking is perfect on this project. We're kind of stuck with the confines of the way the building was constructed and the way the lot was constructed originally. The parking ratio is comparable to what was approved across the street on the Arts Lofts apartments. And we kind of did an informal poll a few weeks ago, and they're at about 80% occupancy, and they are having no parking problems whatsoever. So I know every project is different, and we recognize the concerns. The development's not going to be full from day one, and it'll give the owners and operators time to adjust. And if they end up not being able to lease a certain number of units because parking becomes a problem, they just won't. We looked at a parking garage for this facility and that was actually the initial concept proposed to the neighborhood groups in the Evergreen District. We didn't get very good feedback on the garage. They seemed to be against the garage. So what we've done is within UDC limits, tried to surface park it. And I think we've done a pretty good job. I don't anticipate a problem, but again, it won't be occupied 100% overnight, so there will be some time to make some adjustments. With regard to the streetscape on Buena Vista, yeah, we're having to take some trees down. We've had to narrow the landscape area. We're going to put up an 8-foot tall solid masonry wall all the way down the Poplar frontage, down the Buena Vista frontage, and also along the northern line where we show the pool, the amenity area. and it's going to be heavily landscaped.
Well, I appreciate your response. I was actually asking the opposition, what did they have in mind? But, I mean, that definitely works. I mean, makes sense, you know, what you presented there. I do appreciate that. I think,
We're having the opposition come back and answer that question, and then applicant, you can do your rebuttal after her. Go ahead.
I appreciate you asking that question. I've been thinking about how can it be resolved. Now, the way the position the building is, you have the park, which I think there's some development coming within the park later on during the shell area. Why don't you redirect the parking there? Because it's pretty much open all night long. But I feel like if you have parking along Buena Vista, you're gonna introduce just random traffic. What I'm saying is redirect the parking from Buena Vista and Kenilworth and utilize the park. And the developers can have like the residents there can have special, I don't know if this is true, but you all are the board, you all can make all the rules you want. But the residents have parking permits to park in the park. So it's not just random people, you're breaking it down where you're, I don't know how to say it. You're guiding people where to park. That's basically what I'm saying.
Right. So definitely understand that as well. That puts another component on the developer as well. Not that I'm for or against it, but just kind of talking through it just to make sense of it. That puts another element or layer on the developer to say, hey, you go coordinate with these guys since this is the park, and you know maybe that's somewhere that you use. Maybe that does happen in a natural cause, but I think that in the planning phase of it, to identify where the parking is going to be, it has to be answered for this meeting specifically. Now, additional parking is another conversation that happens once you reach 100% occupancy and whenever that time happens. I think that having those conversations and continuing to reach out to them as well and understanding what's going on with the park is a lot of Midtowners don't like to lose green space. So that is another component that as a developer, I think you look at to say, okay, how do I make sense of what I have and work with the confines of what's already been presented with me as well. So I think in due time, it may be, I'm not speaking for the developer, just talking in terms of how logically I process information.
Two things, okay? I'm not a traditional Midtown, but I love Midtown, okay? Number one, they were concerned about parking. They were more concerned about adding a pool. Why don't you add additional parking spaces, okay? Number two, I don't think anybody lives close to this. They either live far out east or somewhere else. So they're not gonna absorb all the traffic and hear all the noise. Because what I hear from you all, you're saying, and when I say you all, I'm just pointing, well, it's not there yet. It may be there yet. I don't know what's gonna happen when it's at 100%, but we're diligent there. But this is the time and place. This is the foundation that we set to say, this is, and set a plan accordingly so the neighbors are not feeling like they gotta leave the area. Because I love the area. I love Midtown, okay? I love Memphis. I'm a Memphis native and I moved away and I purposely came back here because I wanted to be a leader in my community, and not a leader up front, just behind scenes, okay, helping kids. But I think it's very important to actually establish a plan before, other than stating, well, when that happens. Because we all know when we say when that happens, it's lost in the dust. Everyone's on to the next project, 4.4, 5.2, whatever the next project is of the day. So I appreciate you asking that question. I'm not against the redevelopment. There was proposals in the meeting where instead of having as many one-bedroom apartments, make it a family unit apartment, maybe 2-3 bedroom units in the foundation to make it more family-oriented and not single or college. We have a couple colleges around there. My concern is it's gonna turn into a dorm that's not necessarily on campus, so they can do whatever they want. But everybody else hands off because you know what? I don't know, I love the area and I want the area to stay up. I don't want property values to go down. I don't want to run because of the issue wasn't resolved with something as simple as parking.
No, I understand, and I appreciate. I ask that question so that I can understand. Like, okay, hey, what do you do about parking? Just looking at the site plan, definitely understand you. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are you coming to answer a question or?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay.
That's okay.
And then we'll have the applicant do his rebuttal.
Yeah, thank you for that question and for some of the feedback related to our concerns. So I just wanted to speak to that. As far as where the additional parking goes, I'm a residential property owner, and I would ask that question back to the developer. I feel like that's the expertise of the architects and the people who work in this space every day. As Juanita shared, there's a pool, which I understand increases the value of an apartment, but it's also where additional parking could go. But again, I feel like that's a problem that there are better experts in the room to answer. I feel like my role was to bring the concern. To speak to the building not being immediately occupied, the goal of any property owners is that it be occupied eventually. So we are setting the parameters today for the quality of my neighborhood, my street, my house in the future. I bought my house to live there until I moved to the Parkview, but now I'll pick somewhere else, right, when I retire. The other point about the building on Poplar and Tucker.
Okay, just a minute. Is she still answering your questions?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you don't get a chance for rebuttal. I thought you were just answering his question.
Yeah.
Okay.
May I speak to the point about the apartment building on Tucker, or is that not allowed at this point? Getting a similar variance?
Yeah, no, we're not considering that. I mean, we're just really focused on, I think you answered my question as well as the other opposition. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Okay, we are ready for the applicant to go ahead and do your rebuttal. Got 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'll just address a couple more things. Lighting will be confined to the site and will be cut off fixtures so that Buena Vista is not affected by our lighting. And again, we're cleaning the site up. It's a rough looking site now, and it's going to be a nice development. And again, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I have a question.
Okay, we have a question for you.
This is just purely personal. Will you still rent out the lobby space to organizations which have done so for many, many years?
I don't know that I'm qualified to answer that question. I will say this, the intent is, they spend a lot of money in the lobby area, the first couple floors.
Right.
And their intent is to leave those, in their present state and use those in the best possible way, whether it's amenities for their tenants or community activities. So, I would think there's an opportunity for that.
Well, it's very beautiful.
It is.
That has to be one of the prettiest lobbies in this city.
It's beautiful.
And the woodwork is wonderful. But I just wanted to know if you would still allow outdoor, out of resident people to use it, to rent it.
I can't answer that question.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? Any other questions? Okay, any other questions of the opposition? We're going to close the public portion of the meeting. Okay, we're ready to close the public portion of the meeting.
Move
May I
approval.
get a motion?
Yes. Move approval of agenda item number 21, PD 22-09.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion?
I just have one comment. I've met with these developers a few times on other projects they have. They're going to spend a massive amount of money on this project to really improve this building and bring it back to its glory. It's going to go through landmarks also because it's in a landmarks district. Lastly, I do not think parking is going to be a concern along Buena Vista. when you can easily park a car along Kenilworth Place, which is the street on the east side of that building that walks right in the front door, and there's parallel parking all the way down it, and there's not a homeowner here to ask about it, which I'm surprised. So I'll be in support of this.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Madam Chair, we go now to an appeal. Agenda item number 26, S22-07, Capelville, appeal of a minor two-lot commercial subdivision at 4735 Getwell Road. Staff recommendation is whatever action the board deems advisable.
Okay, is there a staff person making a presentation on this?
Madam Chair, this was a case that one of our planners, Sophie Vogel, if you remember her, she had, and she is from England. She went back for like 3 months. So I've taken the case. She did the approval as a minor subdivision at our technical review committee meeting in April, and the applicant had a concern about a condition that we placed on it to have an access easement. So they are appealing that condition. So I think we can have the applicant speak to their request for the appeal of that condition, and then we can go from there.
Okay, thank you. Applicant, would you come up, please give us your name and address and your, okay. We're gonna have staff person make a presentation first. What are they doing? Okay, this is staff making a presentation, right?
This is actually the applicant, so they're going to give their presentation of their request for the appeal.
Okay,
and we can answer any questions if we need to, but I think this will probably cover the questions you may have.
Okay.
I apologize, I got lost in the cases there. Mike Davis again with the Reeves Firm, 6800 Poplar Avenue, Memphis. This is a minor subdivision that normally would not come before you, but there is a staff condition that the applicant would like to remove, and it involves access throughout the property. We're asking for a two-lot subdivision. Lot 1 is a Captain D's, currently under construction. It was permitted before the applicant envisioned subdividing the property. So it was approved as one building on approximately 4 acres of land. And it was approved with a 36-foot curb cut out to Getwell. And the applicant was required to make full street improvements, which he did and is in the process of doing. And the curb cut allows for 3 lanes of traffic, 1 in and 2 out, so there's a dedicated left-hand turn lane coming out of this lot. Then he decided to subdivide the property. So Christine, if you would show, at the northern end of Lot 2, and again, Lot 1 is the Captain D's. At the northern end of Lot 2, there is an existing ingress, egress easement and an existing drive that was built when the businesses to the north of this development were constructed years and years ago. And it has its own curb cut out to Getwell. And then there are other ways to leave Lot 2. That's the drive I was discussing right there. You can see Lenny's and other developments that face Shelby Drive, Captain D's to the left, and then the vacant part of this property is between this drive and Captain D's. And the staff requested that we have cross-circulation between lots 1 and 2. Again, Lot 2 can be accessed from the existing street on North Line through a flag lot that has yet to be improved out to Shelby, and actually has direct access through those existing facilities to the north. So while the staff request is typical, in this particular case, we feel like there's plenty of access, existing access, without having to tie Lot 1 and Lot 2. Lot 1, again, is a fast food restaurant, Captain D's. It depends heavily on drive-in traffic. It does not have an excess number of parking spaces, and if you were to tie lots 1 to lots 2, you would lose probably 3 or 4 parking spaces in the process, and traffic would kind of be congested again because of the drive-through nature of Lot 1. So what we're requesting here today is approval of the 2-lot subdivision and removal of the cross-access condition that was placed on the property by staff. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions? Are you making a presentation as well, lady?
Unless there are any questions, I believe that the applicant's presentation covered most of it, but if there are any questions for staff, essentially this was it's a default comment because of the width of the drive that city engineering had, and so we really don't have a strong stance on it. It's just a default comment because of the width, and so we don't have an exception to either way. Okay. So if there are any questions, of course, we can answer those.
Any questions?
Yes, I just, point of clarification, I guess. I'm looking at a plan here that shows a hatched area, and you're requesting a 30-foot easement, ingress easement. I know there's a drainage, there's a sanitary drainage there, so there is already an easement there for the utilities, is that correct?
Yeah, I believe that's true.
Okay, so staff is just asking for circulation easement. I don't understand. Why did staff want the 30-foot?
City engineering had a comment that they wanted the Lot 1 to have cross access to Lot 2. And so that was so that Lot 1 and Lot 2 would be connected, and the applicant is requesting that they don't have that requirement to have that connection.
Okay, so the request is only for ingress and egress to connect lots 1 and lot 2. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we're going to close the public portion of the meeting.
Move approval of agenda item number 26, S22-07.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. We have a motion. Is there any discussion?
So we would have
Go
to
ahead.
agree to their request.
Yes.
And so I would be okay with that. Do we have to have a motion to, or what's the process?
That was a motion to approve the appeal, so a yes vote approves the request.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Do we have any further information, discussion, announcements, or anything? No?
No, ma'am.
Okay, well then I move that this meeting is over.